Ousen is the embodiment of kingdom. Now, what do I mean when I say something like that? Well, in all seriousness, I'm not entirely sure, but I needed to say something to grab your attention. Kingdom is very hard to describe. When reading this manga for the first time, I'm sure everyone was confused which demographic this series was, shonen or seinen. Kingdom has less blood and gore compared to that of Chainsaw Man or Attack on Titan, and I honestly thought Kingdom at the start was a shonen with seinen-like tendencies. Despite the nature of this series being so hard to pin down, I feel like no other character really represents or embodies Kingdom's appeal more so than Ousen. Let me ask you all a question. When you guys first think of Ousen, what are the first things that come to mind? Is it his cult leader mentality? Is it the determination to make himself king and build himself a new and strong kingdom? Is it his cold heart void of any emotion? And this is exactly what I mean. On the surface, Ousen sounds ruthless and unforgiving, just like Kingdom in general, but beneath all that lies a desperate man struggling with everything he's got to try and fulfill his life's ambition. Just like how the series itself showcases and explores much more grandiose and meaningful topics with its characters. A lot of people like to point out the epic striking side of Kingdom, and I'm here to show you it's not just striking, it's striking and deep. And there's no better way for me to prove that than by talking about the man who embodies it all, Ousen, the false king. Now, before we get started, I feel like I should explain the title a little bit. During the midst of all the chaos of the events of the Coalition War, Kanyu had just received word that Ousen had seemingly disappeared from his crucial position. King Sei and his officials are obviously in an uproar, trying to understand why he would do such a thing. It is here where Shobon-kun sheds a little bit of light on the thus far mysterious character known as Ousen. He explained how Ousen is the family head of the great and famous O family, the same bloodline that spawned another great general, Oki. It was rumored that Ousen was equally talented as Oki himself. However, due to his dangerous ambition, he never received King Sho's favor. Shobon-kun goes on to explain how Ousen does not possess any shred of loyalty or patriotism. The reason being is he desires to become a king himself. And Ryofui, being the logical person he is, asks why they would appoint such a crucial position to him, and even worse, later on, one of the second generation's 6 great generals. Ousen, the false king, is a necessary evil. Giving Ousen a title of great general is a double-edged sword. The kingdom of Qin is very lucky to have such a fierce general born within its borders. If Ousen was born within a kingdom like Zhao, for instance, the idea of Qin's united China would seem more like a fairy tale than reality. But at the same time, Ousen possesses the power to freely wage war, and during his numerous battles, he's acquired people from all states, inviting them to not serve Qin or their respective state, but loyalty towards him and only him. As of right now, this is Ousen's main goal. Use the opportunity that King Sei has presented him with, and by that I mean a war against all of China, and take the best it has to offer. He even offered Ribuku a spot in his army. And just imagine the best of each kingdom, whether it be great generals to 1,000-man commanders, all under command of possibly the greatest military mind of China's 500 years of war. There is no doubt that one day Ousen plans to point his sword towards Qin, as he and the king are destined to trade blows. One man working to overthrow all 7 states and bring an end to kings, the other working to build the strongest kingdom, the likes in which China has never seen. Make no mistake, Ousen is an evil man. Not in the same way as Kanki, but knowing that there is a snake in your garden, but a snake with a purpose, but will still no doubt one day come to bite you, it is not a situation that can easily be solved. Ousen has proved himself an irreplaceable and essential part of Qin's plan of unity. Ousen hides behind the title of general, uses fancy words and ideals to bring people under him. Ousen is the supreme commander of the Zhao invasion, meaning he goes forth as a conqueror for Qin, personal intentions aside. As of now, he is taking the first step in the plan of a united China. He is the one who shoulders the burden of taking down all of Zhao. He is the one carrying out King Sei's will. He is the one who has in the palm of his hands 2 entire states with hundreds of thousands of lives. Make no mistake, Ousen is a necessary evil. Earlier, I asked you all what first came to mind when you thought of Ousen, And I'm willing to bet for a lot of you, it was this panel. This one panel describes all too well the character of Ousen. To give you some background, the invasion of Zhao has just begun, and after claiming Retsubi, Ousen notices that this city is built in a way where it's difficult to defend. It was built this way because if an enemy state were to capture it, taking it back would be no problem for Zhao. Ousen then goes on a scouting mission to lay eyes on Gyo, the most important city that Qin needs to take if they have any hope of continuing their invasion. As he reaches Gyo, he formulates a plan right there, dead center in enemy territory, and as he and his men were spotted, a quick fight breaks out, a fight in which they were outnumbered 2-1. Ousen goes on to ask Akon, his most trusted advisor, if this would be a problem. Akon simply replied, "Take as long as you need," giving us this perfect panel. The only panel in the Kingdom manga that gives us an inkling of the inner workings of Ousen's mind. I'm sure a lot of you have noticed by now, but Ousen doesn't dirty himself with blood. We are close to 800 chapters in, and Ousen has never been seen to draw a blade against anyone. Instead, he surrounds himself with people who he knows will gladly sacrifice their life if needed. Even when Zhao's spears were aimed at his throat, Ousen didn't make a single move and instead stood there until Ohan, his son, saved him. Now that's not to say that Ousen is physically weak, it's actually the opposite. In the data books of Kingdom, Ousen was given a strength stat of 93, and to give you an idea of how strong he is, Oki, his cousin, was given a strength stat of 98, and Shin a strength stat of 91. So what does this all mean? The best analogy I can give you guys is this. Think of a chessboard. Ousen is obviously the king, and in his army are his pawns, bishops, knights, and rooks. A king is meant to give orders and have pawns carry them out. A king is meant to survive no matter what, or all hope is lost. And every other piece is meant to sacrifice their life, if needed, to secure the king's victory and or safety. Kings are not meant to worry about small insignificant people or events. They are there to think of the bigger picture. Ousen is an elaborate, carefully constructed puzzle box of a character that no matter how closely you look at, there always seems to be missing some essential piece to reveal its full picture. But this panel is the closest Yasuhise Hara has ever given us to truly understanding the character that is Ousen. His goal is to conquer Zhao while simultaneously creating the strongest army. His dream and ambition demand him to be entirely selfish, and yet he does so while carrying out entirely selfless actions. But what's the real reason for his desire to be king? This is an ambition we have seen from other characters, Ryofui for instance. Why is it that these people of already extraordinary power and wealth still aim for the crown? Ryofui went from a common citizen of Han to a merchant who dealt between states of Yan and Zhao to a strong chancellor of the state of Qin who used the former king as a puppet and had more power than King Sei at one point in time. Ousen is the head of the very famous and powerful O family. There is not a more distinguished family in the state of Qin, maybe even China, excluding that of the royal families. So why fight for the title of king? Simple answer, a difference in ideals. Isn't that what it always comes down to? Someone's pride and ego believes that they are right and they can do better. King Sei believes that the only way to end 500 years of non-stop war and chaos is by entering one last war. A war that will paint the land of China bloody, and the death toll will be innumerable by conquering and destroying all other 6 states and unifying them under one banner. Chancellor Ryofui, his ambition was to make war completely obsolete by integrating China economically, as he wanted to make Qin into a kingdom based on a powerful economy instead of pillage and plunder, where happiness and quality of life would be assured by a wide production of consumer goods. For Ousen, his reasoning to become king is not clear, so what I'm about to say is completely theoretical, but honestly makes sense to me given all the information we have on him from the manga and real historical evidence. I'm going to present to you 4 theories that are well grounded and thought out that honestly I gotta give myself a pat on the back for, because if Ousen's reasoning to become king is not one of these 4 theories, I will be shocked because I feel like I covered all my bases. But anyways, here is theory number 1. The restoration of the O family's glory. In real world history, the Wang family, but in the manga they're called the O family, has many different origin stories, with one being that they were once known as Ji and were the royal family of the Zhao dynasty before the crown prince lost his succession and was exiled. The family would then change their surname to Wang, which literally means king. Ousen could have learned this at a young age and has resolved himself to return his family to their former status as royals by erecting a new kingdom. This would explain the reason he beats talented men into submission and then forces them to swear complete fealty to him. He wants to build up enough strength for his revolt to become a battle that he can definitely win, while simultaneously ensuring that there is no one from within that would attempt to strip him of his power like what happened to his ancestor. Now this may be my personal favorite theory because this would also mean when Ousen revolts, it would be a battle of royal blood going against each other, which we haven't seen since the beginning of the series, and I would think it would be some nice symmetry to really show off how far we've come in the story of Kingdom. Sei, Shin, and Ten were all brats back then, and now? Well, Sei has become the lifeblood of Kin. Everyone in Kin, as well as other characters from enemy states, have profound respect for him. Shin has proven himself to be the biggest monster on any battlefield, taking down generals like Rinko, Ryo, Mangoku, Kisha, and even Hoken, the man that took down 2 of the 6 great generals and Duke Hyo. And Ten has become a master strategist after receiving training from Shohei-kun. The person who taught him is Kosho, the only pure strategist of the first generation 6 greats. While I don't think this is likely to be the reason for his ambition, I definitely think it would be the coolest. Now as for theory number 2, this is most likely the reason for his ambition, as it already speaks a lot of Ousen's character, and by that I mean use his intelligence on the grandest scale. Ousen is probably the single smartest character in Kingdom. That's not even debatable. Seeing the overwhelming success he's had during his military career, coupled with the idiocy of people in positions of complete power, like the former Zhao King Tojo and now the current king Yuboku, could make him believe that he inherently deserves to be a king because his talents exceed others by such an incredible margin. This explains his distaste towards Riboku for choosing to serve under someone incompetent instead of aiming to usurp them. After seeing how effectively he can bring down destruction upon kingdoms with his intelligence, he wants to prove that he can construct a kingdom just as successfully in the same manner. This is why his ideal kingdom is one that stands unrivaled in strength over the rest. Ousen's ego would make Jinpachi get a little stiffy, if you know what I mean. But moving on to theory number 3, born into high status but wants to go higher. Ousen is the head of the noble O family, known for its military background and prestigious nature. For a guy like Ousen, being born with a silver spoon and rising to the head of a mere noble family might not be enough. During his youth, his ego could have been inflated by his clout, but once he realized that there were people actually above him, royal families, it made him want to chase after a diamond spoon and guarantee that there was nobody that could say they were able to look down on him. This would correspond to his indifference towards Ohan. If Ousen established his own royal bloodline, there is a possibility of it ending as the paternity of his current heir is in question. What's the point in going through all the effort and time if after one generation there's a chance of it being inherited by some random? All his actions up until the point where he got his kingdom would be null as soon as he died, and would defeat the purpose of doing it for the sake of catapulting the O family status into a new stratosphere. What I'm trying to say here is, this theory leaves a lot of gray area for both Ohan and Ousen, and may very well put Ohan in danger if this theory turns out to be true, because we have seen countless times family members are not opposed to offing each other just for the sake of greed. But finally, theory number 4, never had the ambition originally. Ousen was at the same level as the first generation of the 6 greats, but was never able to obtain that position as he didn't have King Sho's favor. He may not have had the ambition, and King Sho simply had a vendetta against him stemming from his abstinence in battles where his calculations told him that they were definitely not winnable. As we know, Ousen only fights if there's a 100% guarantee that he will win. This would lead to King Sho spreading distasteful rumors of Ousen wanting a kingdom to appease those wondering why he wasn't appointed as a member of the OG6, while also preventing him from rising any further. Ousen's win rate would have been 100%, so simply not partaking in certain battles wouldn't be a dire enough reason to satisfy the officials of Kanyu. This could be more credible should we ever get an Oki and Ousen flashback. Being disavowed by his own king and seeing a member of his branch family gain crazy notoriety would spark the fires of his ambition, where he would decide to turn these rumors into reality so he could get ultimate power and stop the meddling of those above him. I know it sounds super far-fetched and kinda undermines the type of character that that King Show has already been shown to be, but this theory is so crazy and outlandish that this is something Yasuhisa Hada would definitely come up with. Ousen's motivation behind his ambition could very well be one of these reasons, an amalgamation of them, or something completely different I'm not thinking of. Regardless, he could easily become a top tier antagonist if Hada chooses to go that route. Thank you for watching, that's the video, and if you made it this far, I really do appreciate it. This was honestly one of the hardest character analysis videos I've had to make just because of how much reading in between the lines you have to do with a character like Ousen. Someone who shows no emotions, no smiles, no jokes, just straight business 100% of the time. It's kind of hard to gauge them, so hopefully I was able to do Ousen the justice he deserves. And I just had to say this because what the actual hell, but we are close to 3,000 subscribers, and I want to thank you guys so much for putting up with me. I genuinely don't know how you do it. Like, I don't even think I'm good at this, and my upload schedule, if that's what you can even call it, is horrendous. But anyways, it means a lot to see our community growing like this. Thank you. Honestly, from the bottom of my heart. I know I say it a lot, but words can't describe how much I love you guys. Hopefully the next video won't take as long, but I wouldn't get your hopes up because life is a little unpredictable. I've been ill for like the past 2 weeks. You may be able to hear it in my voice right now. And if you're like me, once I'm sick, I just want to off myself. There's nothing I hate most in this world than being sick. It's disgusting, the fluids that are coming out of my body. Anyways, make sure to like the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you are new around here, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.